All right. Good morning, everyone. I feel like I say good morning to some of you so many times in one year, but we're very excited to be here this morning. My name is Lerato Ngobeni. I am the national spokesperson of ActionSA. We're very, very grateful, as usual, for all of you being here, for all of our press conferences, just to cover and let us our word go out into the nation. Today is a momentous occasion for our organization. We've been through a lot of processes. We are currently in the middle of applications for candidate selection. We have people who must apply to represent our organization, post the 2024 provincial and national elections that are coming up. Everybody knows that this is going to be a defining election, just like 1994 was in our time. Those of us who were young at that time, 2024 is definitely an important election. And so Action SA intends, our Senate has been very intentional about the fact that we must and will emerge as one of the key players in the political space. Ours is unapologetically an organization that is committed to fixing our country. We are committed to making sure that all of the things that have gone awry in our society can be fixed. I don't know if people can pick up that phone. May I ask that everybody's phone is on silence so that we can respect this moment? And so thank you all very much. Mine is not to speak for very long. The order of this morning is going to be that I'm going to, after I move from this podium, ask our president, Mr. Herman Mashaba, to come through and address the room and make the announcement. And then from there, we'll have the next person speak. And then when the final person has spoken, I will come back to the podium to conduct the Q&A. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask Mr. Herman Mashaba to come to the floor.
Yes, thank you, Lorato. Thank you, my colleagues, members of the media. Thank you so much for really doing what in a democratic environment by always keeping society involved of developments in our country, whether negative or positive. As ActionSA, we always appreciate your presence. More importantly, I think let me really thank South Africa at large, those who are watching on live streams and whatever platform that they're following. Thank you so much. Fellow South Africans, following our recent successful, historic and groundbreaking inaugural policy conference held just a few weeks ago, ActionSA is now ready to take our party to the next level of development. That is the announcement of premier candidates for all provinces, an important step to take the party to the next higher level in preparation of all important 2024 provincial and national elections in now 7-8 months' time. Remember, in 2021, we only contested municipalities in the 2021 local government election, competing as the logo, complements of the IEC, Independent Electoral Commission. They made us contest as a logo. But we emerged as a serious player when the results were announced. South Africans saw our logo and recognized with it and put a mark across it, making us the sixth biggest political party in the country. We used 2022, the whole of last year, to establish national structures with the appointment of 9 provincial chairpersons by the end of October. For some of you to remember very well, I had committed to have all 9 provincial chairpersons by December. But I was lucky enough, working with dedicated fellow actioners, we achieved that objective by end of October 2022. We are now sitting at 38% of the branches launched throughout the country, with a target of reaching 60% of branches by the time we go to elections in 2024. That's the only way we believe we can really make an impact. But we're really grateful that as I'm talking to you right now, we've already reached 38% of the branches throughout the country. We have a membership of 230,000 of committed volunteers determined to see the political government changing through the ballot in 2024. Most of these members, this 230,000, are committed, hardworking, and ethical to the cause. Today, fellow South Africans, it gives me immense pleasure to announce the first of ActionSA premier candidates out of the 9 for the upcoming elections. I present you, in particular, people of the Northwest, one and only Kgosi Kwena Mangope. Thank you so much. Thank you for accepting huge responsibility. Now, actually, I first approached this gentleman. I thought I was taking a chance, but fortunate enough, risk is part of my DNA, and he gladly accepted the responsibility. Thank you so much. Kgosi Mangope, as all of you are aware, is the son of the late Lucas Mangope, the president of the former homeland of Bophuthatswana, one of the most successful and particular leader of our time. Kwena has big shoes to fill. We rarely recognize this. And I keep saying this to him. Kwena, I know your father's shoes were too big, but please try and really carry them through. Because we have full confidence in his ability to shake up the failed Northwest Province. It hurts me for someone coming from Amanskral, born and raised in Amanskral, people of Amanskral, walking off Haramutsi, walking to Babelegi industrial area. 1985, January 1985, I opened a factory in Garankuwa. Some of you attended the launch of our South African dream at a factory where I started Black Like Me in 1985, a factory almost the same size of this, 200 square meter in the former Bophuthatswana, with the Bophuthatswana Development Corporation just next door to that industrial area. People who are committed to public service, very helpful. Because I started business in a 200 square meter factory with my wife and 2 partners. We'll employ 1 person, 2 second one, and so forth. In just over a year, out of the 10 units, we were already occupying 5 units out of the 10, employing over 100 people. 18 months later, we moved into 1,500 square meter factory in Bophuthatswana. Why this was happening? We had the public servants who were there to assist us, not expecting us to buy them cold drinks. 5 years later, by 1990, before when I reached 30, I was one of the big industrialists in this country, having built my own factory in Mabopane, right in the township, employing in excess of 6,000 square meter factory. I did not own. And that happened because we had the government that was there to assist us. And I think I want to share something very important to you. In August, I was born, left Bophuthatswana after burning down of my factory on the 17th of November, 1993. And I've never met Kwena's father. Never. I've never met him on one-on-one. But I was one of the, if not the biggest black industrialist, young for that matter. Then, you keep asking yourself, what kind of leader is this? Today, as you all are aware, we work on the basis of cadre deployment, and you've got to meet the president. You've got to pay R1 million to be at the seat with the president. Chief Lucas Mamope never asked him single meeting with me. I've never met him. It's unfortunate that, but at least I've had the pleasure, and I do have, to really be friends with his son and actually prepared to serve people of Northwest. Kgosi Kwena Mangope is the current traditional chief of Motswedi community in the Northwest with illustrious service in the South African Defence Force. So, Kgosi Mangope, we need order restored in the Northwest. And more importantly, development and jobs for the people. When I grew up in the 70s, people of Haramutsi, my sisters, people who did not work were those who did not want to work. There was law and order. You kill someone, the police will find you and you'll be severely punished. You come from the military environment. We need law and order because that's the only way you can really bring a nation economy. The North Pole said an abundant mineral. I remember very well when I was sailing Black Lagoon in the 80s in the Northwest, in particular Rustenburg. I don't know if some of you remember well, some of you might be young enough to understand. In the 80s, at one stage, Rustenburg was known to be the fastest growing town in the world because of the mineral resources. Go to Rustenburg today, it'll break your heart. So you've got a lot of work to do. You've got to go and give those people of Tlhabane, of Rustenburg, of Tamanskral, and all the other areas, give them hope again because it is possible. So we have abundant factories. Babelegi industrial area today, it's a shadow of its past. We need to really go and open those factories in Mohwase, in other areas. What people really need is ethical and servant leadership. And all of us as ActionSA, Senate, when I presented your credentials to them and my proposal that I suggested that you be the first premier candidate that I announced, and we will be announcing others in coming weeks, in coming months. Our deadline to have all 9 provinces covered is the end of February next year. And I'm confident I might be able to achieve it before the time. But obviously, my commitment to Senate and people of South Africa is that all 9 provinces will be covered by the end of February next year. With these few words, Tate Mangope, today it's your day. You're the man of the moment. Thank you so much for accepting this huge responsibility to serve our nation, not only Northwest, but to serve South Africa. Rato, thank you so much for everything that you guys do, not only for ActionSA, but to do for the people of South Africa. Tate Mangope, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Dumelang lotlhe ba gaetsho ke le dumedisa ka pula ke a leboga batho betso go ye more good morning President Mashaba, ActionSA members present here today, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to express my gratitude to President Mashaba and my first political home, ActionSA, for affording me the privilege to serve the residents of the Northwest Province, indeed our beloved country, South Africa. I must, however, hasten to say the service I assume today is preceded by my 35 years of military service in the erstwhile Bophuthatswana Defense Force and the South African National Defense Force. And the highlight of my military career was the honor and privilege to serve as a military attaché in India and accredited to Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Nepal, an enriching and fulfilling career indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, my military career training dictates that I do scenario appreciation, that is the battle theater, which I will share with you. I must, however, indicate that in real wartime, this intelligence is not publicly shared. God sometimes allowed his people to experience hardships when they did not obey him. the Israelites had been defeated and taken to exile. On a certain day, a man by the name of Nehemiah, a Jew and a resident of Jerusalem, was in a foreign land. He was told that the land God had given his forebears was in very, very sorry state, vandalized, and left in ruin by merciless and destructive people. Those who survived the exile and are back in the province are in great trouble and disgrace. The wall of Jerusalem is broken down and its gates have been burned with fire. We find this in Nehemiah 1 verse 3. Nehemiah's response to this painful account was as follows, and I quote, "When I heard these things, I sat down and wept. For some days I mourned, fasted, and prayed before the God of heaven." Close the quote. After praying, Nehemiah was appointed to go and fix Jerusalem. He resolved to go and restore and reposition Jerusalem. I and many ActionSA members like Nehemiah have witnessed the systematic destruction and mismanagement of the Northwest Province in particular and South Africa in general. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I have managed to set the scene. The big question is, how did our country get to where we are? At this point, I wish to quote the famous Abraham Lincoln, who said, and I quote, "If we could first know where we are and whither we are tending, we can then better determine what to do, and most importantly, how to do it." The reason I chose ActionSA, ladies and gentlemen, as my first political home was informed by ActionSA's vision, which is an inclusive, prosperous, and secure future for all South Africans in a country healed from its past. This vision is underpinned by our values, which are non-racialism, social justice, inclusive economic prosperity, rule of law, quality education, ethical leadership, professional public service, and electoral reform. For me, the vision and value of ActionSA provide winning pathways for overcoming the battle we are faced with. Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, I will have to repeat what you already know. We live in a country plunged into darkness by Eskom, a utility which once was marked in the top 5 worldwide. We live in a country which has the 3rd highest crime rate in the world, according to the 2023 World Population Review. We live in a country where homeless and drug addicts direct traffic. We live in a country where children attack and kill teachers in schools. We live in a country where children die in taverns in large numbers in the dark of night. We live in a country where sewage runs in the streets daily. We live in a country where most small businesses are run by foreigners. We live in a country where rail infrastructure has been deliberately destroyed. We live in a country where our taps are running on clean water, hence the cholera outbreak in Hammanskraal. We live in a country where undocumented migrants from all over the world come through our porous borders into our cities. They come from China, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, and you can name many to run businesses In rural villages like Pitsidi Sulejang, Khanyisa, Taung, Tlhabane, and more rural villages in the Northwest. Ladies and gentlemen, my question was, how did we get here? The answer lies in Einstein's definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results. For the past 29 years, South African citizens, we have been voting for the wrong party. Lucas Manyane Mangope on Salanguna Buari. So ANC Yahuli Sutla. So we have been voting for load shedding, inadequate health services, and uncaring public servants, potholes, unemployment, corruption, failed SOEs, inferior education, and all the issues I've mentioned above. Yaanong bagaetsho, ke ka moo nna ke ne ka emisa letsogo ka ra President Mashaba ka re ke a ithaopa gore ke dire gore ke thuse go siamisa lefatshe la South Africa ka gore Motswana o buile a re kgabutle ga nka feta go ga gabo a re go tlala le a nke phetsolela nageng. This means there comes a stage where you are compelled to go back home and rebuild the ruins. I have pledged myself to go back to the Northwest to rebuild the ruins like Nehemiah did. You may think that acceptance of premier candidacy does not signify very much. Yes, being a candidate is not of itself very important. But I know that acceptance of the premier candidacy brings with it enormous challenges that have beset the Northwest Province because of poor governance of many years since 1994. But ladies and gentlemen, it is not only my challenge when I assume the premiership of the Northwest Province, but a challenge for all residents of the Northwest. Our province is largely comprised of the erstwhile Bophuthatswana and has a legacy that I was fortunate to witness and experience at conceptualization. This legacy I'm talking about was aimed at unearthing and revealing Black excellence, a visionary legacy crafted to shape human potential, and a holistic development was realized in erstwhile Bophuthatswana. My father regularly chanted the mantra, Re na le rona, loosely translated, we have only ourselves and one another. That may not be much, but that is all we have. This rallying call was the gestation of achieving formidable progress by citizens who understood the value of self-reliance. I have therefore, ladies and gentlemen, decided not to waste my time and energy focusing on the failures of the ruling party. I am focused on the restoration and repositioning of the Northwest Province. How do I think we can achieve that? I wish to prioritize the following. One, fixing dysfunctional municipalities, commencing with skills audit to remove unqualified employees, identify and employ passionate and competent technocrats who uphold professionalism. There is no room for chronism or cadre deployment. Our people have suffered enough and are impatient. We need to raise the standard of living through creating a conducive environment for the economy to grow. We need to hold all those who we place in power accountable for proper fiscal management and ensure that citizens live in a secure and safe environment. Which is why we will follow through with implementing the Zondo Commission inquiry outcomes. 3, reduction of youth unemployment. Another urgent key deliverable for me is to establish youth unemployment fund to ameliorate the unbridled youth unemployment. We need to create centers focusing on educatement and creative activities for the youth. I therefore encourage our youth to register with the IEC and vote ActionSA. 4, inclusive economic prosperity. The focus here, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, will be in creating an enabling environment for women and youth-led SMMEs. We will ensure that people living with disabilities are included in driving the economy. My father was labeled a dictator. That could not be further from the truth. However, he unapologetically enforced law and order, which is the hallmark and the genesis of a developing society. In our recent policy conference, we resolved to create an opportunity fund. This fund can be accessed by budding entrepreneurs and creatives with capacity to create employment for others. We have a Setswana saying, Moseka phofu wa gabo ga tshabe go swa lentswe. Loosely translated, it means we need to protect our assets and guard them jealously. My father used to say this to the people of Bophuthatswana, mme batho ba ne ba mo utlwa mme ba sa mo utlwe. Mr. President and fellow actioners, as I conclude, let me quote R. Tagare, who says, and I quote, "You can't cross the sea merely by standing and staring at the rolling waves of the sea," close quotation. Every year at SONA, many promises are made and not carried out nor fulfilled. What is the fate of many of them? Some end just on the paper on which they are written. They are not acted upon, thus they fail to realize their ultimate destiny. We must be action-minded. The philosophy of action is the cornerstone of our policy. In our ranks, we have men and women of high talent and ability. Our poor, disorderly position is not occasioned by lack of talent, but A, by lack of scientific organization and utilization of that talent, and B, by lack of willpower. There can be no prosperous, crime-free, shared equal opportunity and harmonious South Africa unless ActionSA is in power. We have a clear vision that can take us out of this quagmire. Ha ke re ba gaetsho ditlamelwana tsa pula di ba kang go sa le gale, rona re le ActionSA re ba kantse ditlamelwana tseo ka di values di le supa tsa ActionSA tse lo di itseng. There are blows from which it is possible to recover quickly. There are others which leave gaping wounds in one's soul for a lifetime. This is true of individuals as it is of societies. And in this regard, the momentous failures that visited our country for the last 29 years has been a blow to South Africans, which has left gigantic mark of unprecedented corruption and moral decay. Jaanong ba gaetsho go tswa mo go rona re le baagi ba Northwest gore re le ba kae. Fellow South Africans, our salvation lies in vigilance and actively participating in shaping the future of our country so that we don't end up as a failed state. Ke a leboga ba gaetsho pele ke fetsa ke re ke rata go leboga mosadi wa me o montle mosadi wa me gore a ba amphile tlhotlhoetso ga ke itse gore ga na se yone nkabe ke dira jang ke a go leboga mosadi wa me o montle le ka moso. God bless our country. God bless our people. I thank you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, next is Mr. John Moody. Mr. John Moody occupies the office of National Director of Operations for ActionSA. He's going to speak to you about our ground war efforts towards our 2024 electoral campaign. John Moody?
Yeah, thank you, Lorato. Jose, thank you so much for reminding us why we are here. And thank you in particular for reminding me as to why I'm a member of ActionSA. Our country is in dire straits, and it is up to all of us as South Africans to take up the challenge and to rebuild our country so that it can prosper and give future generations an opportunity to survive and to take up its role as a global leader, because South Africa does have that potential. Also, thank you, Herman, for the foresight. In 2019, when you left your previous political home and said, I'm not going to sit back, I'm going to continue to challenge South Africans for us to rebuild what has been broken. Emanating and, firstly starting off with the People's Dialogue, and then, of course, now having ActionSA. And today, of course, after 3 years, we now present to South Africa the first premier candidate in the Northwest. There's 8 more that will be happening, and Herman has spoken to it. Herman has also spoken about the fact that we're looking at the minimum of 60% branches to be launched and structured across the country by election 2024. The question you may ask is, so what about the other 40%? We're a new party, we're not a small party, and I need to stress this, because across the length and breadth of South Africa, people are calling and reaching out to us as they hear the message of hope that ActionSA brings to them. When people recognize in Herman and in the caliber of our premier candidate here, Kwena Mangope, that ethical leadership is still available in South Africa, and are prepared to step up to the plate and to take up the challenges for us to build a better and brighter future. And therefore, my task is to go across the country and to promote and sell this idea of hope to South Africans. And believe you me, that the ActionSA emblem and logo is indeed fast becoming a household name and identity. There will be not just a footprint, but the foothold of ActionSA structures across all branches, or should I say wards, in South Africa, across the length and breadth of our country. And we will have a machinery in place that will be able to function and run a campaign, an excellent campaign, towards our election 2024. And this is not just an empty promise that we make to South Africans. It is because of the fact that I've seen so many South Africans who have never before even thought about getting involved in active politics, now stepping up to the plate and saying, I want to be part of this change. I'm no longer just grateful for what is happening in my country. I want to make a difference. And they look to ActionSA and say, yeah, it is. People who, at the core of why they are involved, is about the concern of our people and our country. And thank you once more, Jose, for reminding us about the story of Nehemiah. Indeed, a very powerful message to us all. And a call to all South Africans, let's heed that call. Let's build our Jerusalem again. Let's build our South Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. John Moody. I think maybe today protocol is a bit different. Thank you, President Mashaba, and congratulations, Khosi. We believe that you are definitely up to the task, and we are looking forward to all of the work that you are going to do in the Northwest Rallyburg. Colleagues, I'm now going to open up for questions and answers. Please, as you stand, let us know which house you represent, your name, and to whom you are directing the question. I will take the first round of 3, and I'll see how, whether it's there are composite questions, meaning that the person can ask 3 questions at a time. I'll just see how it goes, but I'll take the first 3 hands. I see Me, I see you, Muloko, and I see the gentleman at the back. Take it away. My first question is probably to Mr. Moody. What's the process? What is the process the party uses to arrive at selecting premier candidates? Is it just simply who perhaps Mr. Mashaba likes, or is there actually a process via the branches, etc.? That's my first question. The second one is, Mr. Mangope, congratulations, but I'd like to find out what experience do you actually have in politics, and how would you respond to the idea or people saying perhaps you have been put there as a kind of a nostalgic person, people who hark back to an era when Bopututswana was quite a good place to be. And my last question is in terms of the 40% that you're talking about, are you going to be prioritizing particular areas? So for instance, are you going to focus on particular provinces in terms of what it is that you want to win in the elections? Okay. That's for John, right? Okay, don't worry. Moloko?
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Moloko Moloto from ENCA. I think Sis Busi stole my question, but I will rephrase it nonetheless. The part of the process for selecting candidates, maybe if you can tell us how many people did the party have to consider before a determination was made that Khosi Mangope is the rightful candidate. And what were the criteria really, the specifics that you were looking for? Now, to the specific question to Khosi Mangope is that you, as you alluded to this is just a nomination. You have, I don't know, I forgot the number of registered voters in your province. You're going to have to convince those people in the main to move their votes from the governing ANC because it's been getting the lion's share. But there's also another number of people who are registered who had not been casting their votes. You have an opportunity now to reach out to them. Specifically, how are you going to be embarking on this difficult task of ensuring that they vote for you specifically or your party? Lastly, what really stands out for you? I mean, for you to, why do you think stood out for you to be considered for this position? What have you done since you became the leader of ActionSA in your province? What are the key issues that you really believe distinguish you out of the rest?
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much. My name is Zulibanzi Mazibuko, and I come from Soweto TV. So to the Premier candidate, my question to you is, seeing that the youth is not as conscious about, the political atmosphere that we are currently in as a country, what is your plan to just sort of conscientize the youth in Northwest? And then my second question is directed to the President. You released a statement, raising your dissatisfaction as a party when President Ramaphosa said we had a lot to learn from Zimbabwe. I would just love for you to touch a bit on that as to what exactly would you mean when you disagree with the president in that regard. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. Let me just make this one disclaimer, colleagues. I know that it seems like it's an automatic selection process in terms of all of the premier candidates. You will be surprised to know that not all provincial chairpersons as they stand now will be premier candidates. So don't be caught in the first to market trap that happened in the Eastern Cape when the prediction was somebody else, I think it was Banga, who was going to be announced by ActionSA earlier this morning instead of Tembinkosi Khaula. So I'm just cautioning you there. It's not going to be like that. The first person to respond is John. Oh, you want to go first? Okay.
I think
Sorry, let the Mashaba go first. Sorry, which two names? Moloko? Yes.
Yeah, no, afterwards.
You're all
yeah.
welcome to have one-on-ones at the end and also further interviews as you wish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me address the questions directed to John. I think I'm the ideal person to respond, and why I'm the right person to respond is because if one looks at the constitution of ActionSA, as you are aware, ActionSA is only 3 years old. We've not been to an elective conference up to now. And the reason why we operate with an interim constitution, because our constitution is interim. So there's no way anyone would have expected or would expect ActionSA to go into an elective conference. Otherwise, I must get the Mashaba clan to go into elective conference. Until such time that we have national structures, we have to operate with an interim constitution. And we are committed to South Africans that only go to an elective conference after the 2024 provincial and national elections, because we are fortunate that we are the people God gave the little bit of brains to use to form priorities. Now you look at right now, before we've got structures all over the country, do we focus on elections or do we focus on election or elective conference? And I don't want to sit with an elective conference, bring in the Mashabat land into that conference. When we go to an elective conference, it must be an elective conference representing the branches. It is for that reason we are working hard. We are working 24 hours, in fact, 48 hours, 14 days a week, to ensure that by the time we reach elections in 2024, we have at least 60% of the branches of the wards covered in the country, and then we get 9 months where we can then go to the elective conference. And at our elective conference, please look at our constitution, because we don't really work on the basis of deciding stuff in the Shebeen, music, and so forth. We operate on the basis of our constitution. Our constitution is very clear. We took a conscious decision, Senate, the elective conference. We elect the president and elect the 9 provincial the chairpersons. It's important to us. If you look at the mess of other political parties, people are expecting us to do what other parties are doing, which is really strong. But we don't want a ActionSA, whether elected or whoever, even way beyond me. We want, we elect you as a president or we elect you as a premier candidate, you put a team around you yourself. You decide, but firstly, you present that team to Senate, and for Senate, give the final endorsement. We don't want to sit in a situation where we are the president of the country and the branches elect your adversary, someone that you know very well that you're not friends. They elect that person as your deputy or as your secretary general. I mean, I can give examples. Look at what happened with the ANC as a practical example. We have President Cyril Ramaphosa as a president, and we have H. Makashule as the deputy, as general secretary. I mean, that's a disaster, a recipe for disaster. Only honestly for a successful environment in business in that fashion. So for that reason, we are saying, as a president of ActionSA, you are responsible. The only people on Senate you'll sit with, elected by the branches, provincial chairperson. The rest, you as the president, you take final responsibility because this strong believer from the day I was born 64 years ago to take personal responsibility. It's very I don't have to really have an excuse that people elected people who are my enemies around me. And that's how our constitution is structured, including the process of the selection of the premier candidate. Senate and our current interim constitution gave me the powers as the president of the country to really look at quality, ethical people to really be provincial chairpersons. And Senate has also endorsed the president to be responsible for headhunting premier candidates. And we ran through a rigorous process. It is for that reason Northwest was the easiest one for me. As soon as the Senate gave me the mandate to really look for someone, as immediately a week later, but I can tell you they were in Senate when Senate took that decision in terms of the criteria. For me, Northwest was no-brainer. Was no-brainer because I've given you a historical background of my relationship with former Bophuthatswana. I was born there, started a business there. I've witnessed the growth and the safety of people of Bophuthatswana. And I know, and I remember I said to you, and appreciate that Kwena is honestly and truly going to be wearing big shoes. But I said, Kwena, totoba le tsona di fuputsitse. I know him for years, Kwena, in my adult life, playing golf with him, socializing together. He's a man of the highest integrity. He's a man committed to this country. He's a soldier by profession. I tell you, when I took a decision to recruit Kwena in the first instance to be the provincial chairperson, honestly, I thought I was taking a chance because Kwena has never really been directly involved in politics. And my message to him, I said, Kwena, Herman Mashaba has never been in politics. Herman Mashaba never thought he'll one day become a politician. But if not you, Kwena, who? Someone has got to do it. Personally, I can tell you, I hate this job. It's a brutal job, but it's a rewarding job. It's a job that I feel so immensely privileged as a South African to be given an opportunity to serve my country. And I said, Date Mangope, you come from a family of a father who personally I know I've witnessed on television that they Lucas Mangope firing a minister in public. There will be a complaint of people of Pampirstad and so forth. They'll complain right to Lucas Mangope. He'll call a public meeting with all his ministers, and he'll give the community an opportunity to engage, to tell him what the problems are. And the community will bravely say, no, John Moody is not really treating us well as a mayor, is not looking after us and so forth. Date Mangope is one president that would really fire John Moody, Mopela Sechaba. I'm sure all of for people of former Bophuthatswana will know. Will fire in front of the community. That is why he mentioned earlier on that some people said his father was a dictator. No. Lucas Mangope was dedicated to public service, was dedicated to ethical leadership, And I know that Jokwena served ActionSA for 18 months or so now as provincial chair of Northwest, and the work that he's doing and will continue to do without any doubt. It's one of the one that we need to really celebrate. Those are the process and the consideration I took in mind. And last Friday, I called back Senate to say, Senate, I've decided on Kwena Mangope as the first one to be elected, to be presented to people of Northwest and South Africa as the first ActionSA premier candidate. And I can tell you, I received resounding approval by Senate. And then watch the space in coming weeks and months as we announce the others. The question of someone asked a question of the ZANU PF and Cyril Ramaphosa. I think if you attended our policy conference, if you listened to me when I launched ActionSA on the 29th of August 2020, we made it abundantly clear, unapologetic, that ActionSA has got serious problems with the ZANU PF. We cannot allow people of Zimbabwe to be treated in an inhuman way that they're treated at the current moment by the ZANU PF. And we as ActionSA feel, given the mandate by South Africans, ZANU PF will have to have free and fair elections in Zimbabwe, supervised not by African Union or SADC, it'll be supervised by the international community, because people of Zimbabwe deserve a better government that they can choose without any fear or favor of what is really happening. And our stance is really very clear. Given the mandate to be the government in this country, we will immediately, within months, we'll have a team that must investigate all the assets of senior ZANU PF in this country. We will hold it for people of Zimbabwe so that one day when they have the freedom, we can give them their assets stolen by ZANU PF people. And senior ZANU PF will not set foot in this country. But ordinary Zimbabweans, because they're part of us, will become and are welcome here in South Africa, as long as they come here legally, and when they're here, they respect the laws of our country. Regarding the Eastern Cape Metamoloko, I mean, it is clear. I think you guys were guessing. I remember on Saturday and Sunday, and you guys in the media were harassing me, trying all manner of tricks to disclose. I can tell you the current person that Athol announced on Monday. I've never personally met the person as yet, but obviously we were sent his credentials. I mean, he's got an illustrious CV. Looking at the work that she's done working for the other party, we really welcome him, and we really hope that he can live to the values of ActionSA. We're excited to really have someone like that. And as far as the other person is concerned, I'm not aware of any negotiations between ActionSA and anybody else. But one thing I can tell you as ActionSA, the entire Senate has been given marching orders. We've all been given marching orders to attract prominent South Africans as we build towards 2024, including right now, as Lerato has indicated and John, we're running applications for members of parliament and PL. But over and above that, we have targeted recruitment, because some people obviously who are very experienced, because we need, when we go to parliament, we must go there with very experienced people. At the moment, some people have still got some commitments which are unable to really join us for now. But before the elections, before we start the final closing date of people going into the IEC announcing the closing date, you will see in coming weeks, as we announce provincial chairperson, What happened in East London, sorry, in the Eastern Cape on Monday with Athol is going to be the order of the day, not only in the Eastern Cape, it's a countrywide issue. If perhaps some of you guys are going to be the ones who will be announcing as new recruits in ActionSA, as long as you are prepared to serve South Africa. I think I've dealt all the ones that really needed me. I think let me give the floor to Ndate Mangope to deal directly with this. Okay, great. I think it's a very, very important question. But at the same time, as a market, in a very highly competitive market, you can imagine I must go and sell black like me shampoo. I tell people where I must go and focus at. I mean, my goodness, my competitors will rush to go and block my market ahead of me. One thing for sure is that there are certain provinces that are a priority to us. I can tell you Gauteng in particular. Gauteng is there for the taking for ActionSA. But the rest, to be honest with you, because of the confidentiality, and not in a malicious manner, it's just that I think we don't want our competitors to go and really rush before us. So you will see, give us the next coming weeks and months as we announce the provincial chairperson. As we announce them, it's going to give you the premier candidates. As we announce them, it's going to give you an idea where our focus is going to be. So, yeah, in the coming weeks, unfortunately for members of the media, as of this afternoon, I'm not going to be available until I think the 22nd. I'm really taking a short break. I'm sure you guys will bear with me. I'm exhausted. And I need to really go and recharge for, in preparation for 2024. So, but I can tell you on my return, I'm going to live with you, giving you good news, giving you our plans towards 2024, because this upcoming elections are going to be a defining moment for my country and our country. So we're going to be really taking this matter serious in ensuring that we bring in quality premier candidates. We recruit the right people to really be on our team. We open branches and branches to ensure that we get to that minimum of 60% so that it can give us an opportunity to go into an elective conference. I hope my response is satisfactory. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lerato. Me Busi umpuditse gore I can ali kitso experience ya politics. I don't have to have experience to know if the country is headed towards disaster. I don't have to have that experience, but I can assure you, I grew up in a political home for many, many years. I'm a Khosi as I am. And I want to tell you, Khosi is politics. Maybe at a confined area. Now I'm expanding to the whole province, and I know I can make a contribution in Northwest. So I don't regret not having that experience that you asked me about. Remulugu, you asked me about how do I reach out to the voters. I'm not expecting an easy ride, but I can tell you I'm getting messages throughout the former Bophuthatswana of support. Now, somebody asked the question or intimated that I'm nostalgic. I cannot be nostalgic, Pussy, because the country had to be where it was, move from separate development to where we are now. So I'm not nostalgic at all. I have moved on. And by the way, you should remember that I served this country diligently and honorably by being a soldier. And there is no better service than being a soldier, I can tell you. And that is why I'm trying to talk to the president to say, and the Senate to say, we need to have conscription in this country. We need to look at that direction. The other question was, what have I done since I was appointed? We have in the North.
Why you also?
Yeah, why me? She has. We have in the Northwest, and I'm happy because I have members of the PEC here. We have more than 100 branches launched already as we speak now. And the work is going to be intensified after today. We are having our PEC meeting coming weekend in Tabani. And that is where definitely we are going now to be focusing on recruitment. Ladies and gentlemen, of the media, don't think that I'm saying it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a tough one, but I can tell you I'm prepared for that. How do I get the youth to rally behind ActionSA? Let me share with you something. Last weekend, I was in Mabatu, and we had a gathering there, mainly for women and prayer, because my wife and I, and indeed President Mashaba, and indeed ActionSA, we believe God should guide us. And we are not apologetic about that. God should be the guiding light for ActionSA to bring change to this country. Anyway, let me get to the point of the youth. We were at UNIBO last week, at UNIBO Chapel last Saturday, and we had about 20 to 25 young children from UNIBO, students at UNIBO. We have had interaction at Potchefstroom University. We have here amongst us a young man who is responsible to see to it that we penetrate and recruit youth in our universities. And indeed, we are going to focus on that going forward. Have I answered everything? Ke tsa gore ke la rabile ba gaetsho ke wena re moloko le boots.
No, I think those are 8, Khosi. I want to give the floor back to President Mashaba, and then I'll take the next round of questions.
Members of the media and the people of South Africa, I just want to address this issue of experience, political experience. You know, I remember when I accepted the responsibility in 2016 to be the mayoral candidate for Johannesburg. At the time, I had no clue what the mayor does, and genuinely so. What the mayor does, I became a mayor, I accepted the responsibility to be a mayor. I had no clue whatsoever what the mayor does. I had no clue that there was a councillor in my area, and I live in the same area for almost 30 years. I did not even know, and I've never missed the voting. I did not know that there's a councillor representing me. That's how dangerous my knowledge of politics was in terms of political experience. And I remember when I was the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, I immediately embarked on a skills audit. And the reason why I did the skills audit was to ensure that I get rid of people who were in jobs because of what they know, of who they know than what they knew. And in the process, I discovered that people were put in positions and they were said, and I was told, Mashaba is getting rid of experienced people. And I said, my goodness. And I'll address the media. I said, I understand and accept what you guys are saying. But let me tell you something. I'm not getting rid of experienced people. I'm getting rid of experienced thieves. I said, I don't need experienced thieves in government. They could have been saving in the last 15, 20 years. But there are experienced thieves, and I'm not going to sympathize or keep them in office. We are going to appoint people on the basis exclusively on merit. Because when you bring and put thieves in office and you think they're experienced because they've been stealing for 29 years, that's the biggest mistake we can make in South Africa. So South Africa does not need experienced thieves. South Africa requires experienced, skills, committed South Africans like me when I first joined politics.
Thank you. Colleagues, I'll take the next round of questions, if there are any. Okay, go ahead. Just hold. I'll take your hand. Okay, that will be the, I'll close it at that point. Please go ahead, sir.
Afternoon, Alpha Ramushwana here from Eyewitness News. My question is totally unrelated. We're seeing disputes in the city of Tshwane between the DA, the mayor, and the municipal workers. We know a number of them have been fired. And your party, your councillors rather in Tshwane, are not supporting how the mayor is going about this whole SAMU protest. What is your view? What is your stance when it comes to the way the DA is handling this matter in the city of Tshwane? And you have also just said that you do not appoint based on political experience but merit. Your party was the first one that actually denounced the appointment of Kabelo Gwamanda in Joburg, who some would say doesn't have political experience whatsoever. Is that not, you seemingly don't know which side to choose? What do you think about that? Thank you.
Well, Alpha, sorry. Oh, is there another question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thank you again. My name is Zwelibanzi Mazibuko from Soweto TV. Now, sir, I've seen how the ActionSA has been vocal about the situation that was ongoing in Pretoria, whereby the labor unions were striking. So my question is, looking at the situation that is happening in Israel and the Palestine, if you guys were the party in government, what would you guys do to sort of put pressure on the international communities to sort of resolve issues like that? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I don't mind people, when there's a gap, you must take it. Now we're asking about Tshwane and everywhere else when we're actually here to celebrate Northwest. But nonetheless, news is news. Dr. Mashaba, I think you should take all three. The DA mayor issue in Tshwane, maybe pass those together, labor unions, Zwelibanzi's question, and then take Kabelo, and then lastly Israel.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I think, we're in a political field and we need to respond to political developments as and when they appear. So we did not invite you here to come and be friendly with us. You're here to report developments, the way we respond to them. So for us, you are most welcome to ask any question. Alpha, regarding Tshwane and the mayor, we are unapologetic on our stance regarding how the mayor of Tshwane is handling this particular matter. Let me give you some context so that you understand and not be blinded by the propaganda that is doing the rounds. DA has been running the city of Tshwane since 2016. Don't forget that. If ever they've failed to stabilize the finances of the city of Tshwane, it's not something that really happened yesterday. They've been there since 2016. 5 mayors in the process. Solim Simanga, Makhalep, Abel Tau, Williams, Randall Williams, and now the new one. And the DA themselves, before the election, 2021 local government election, signed a 3-year wage deal with the labor, a legally binding agreement. And obviously, we understand and we sympathize with the current mayor because by the time he took over, it was already at the final stage of finalizing the budget. Otherwise, we was going to run out of time. And we supported him on this understanding that we will engage the unions to understand and open our books and really find a solution to this matter. But obviously, to our disappointment, after we supported him, calling labor criminals and so forth, I think for us as Action A, we take personal exception to this, that you cannot really be on the wrong side of the law and you appeal without even actually sharing with us as your coalition partners, because we want to see what is it that you're appealing. Because I can tell you, I'm not a labor lawyer, I've been an employer for many years. The city of Tshwane stands a very small chance of ever succeeding in a labor court. And when will the labor court sit? Another 2-3 years down the line? And then in the meantime, you call employees who are not, they are the people who are not responsible for the financial mess that really happened. The leadership, the DA has to take the responsibility. So if you engage labor in a manner that is respectful and finding a solution, we are not saying give them the entire what we agreed, because yes, we understand you've got a financial challenge, but this financial challenge, you've been running this municipality for the last 7 years. So for that reason, we find it totally unacceptable. We believe the mayor must ensure that engages the employees to find the solution to this, instead of waiting 2 to 3 years for the labor court to sit. Because you can imagine 3 years down the line, 3-4 years down the line, the labor court sits. The contingents are liability that the city will sit with, because then the labor court will say pay, and you pay immediately 5 billion rands, 5-6 billion rands recalculated in the event, depending on how many years it will take. It can be 4-5-6 billion rands at the time that you've got to pay immediately, instead of actually coming out with a plan right now. So this whole issue of calling people criminals, it's totally unacceptable. It's insulting. Who's a criminal? A criminal is someone who breaks the law. And the city of Tshwane has broken the law. They signed a legal agreement, a 3-year wage agreement. In fact, so they're the ones who should obviously be ashamed to really call the employees criminals instead of engaging them. But we will keep on engaging them as ActionSA. We will protect them against the ANC taking over that municipality, because the ANC is just waiting on the side, fueling this tension so that ActionSA can pull out of the coalition. We are going to protect. The ANC can come out with a motion of no confidence. We are going to protect the mayor. But the mayor must ensure that the sooner we have a sit-down meeting with Labour, the better for people of Tshwane, first, and secondly, to really stabilize race relations in this country. Kwanan, Alpha, I'm sure even with you, you know, my brother. I mean, honestly, it's an insult to people of Johannesburg to really have a mayor like this. I think, let me not really be brutal. I think I will leave it to you as a resident of Johannesburg, you to really figure out that, honestly, it's not really fair for ANC and EFF to impose a mayor like this on a big city, the biggest city, broken city in South Africa. Definitely, we just don't really have the right person. Regarding the Palestine-Israel issue, it's a very, very unfortunate situation. Personally, I don't really believe you sort out issues by violence. I think what Hamas did on Saturday, you know, I never really had an opportunity on Saturday. I had lots of engagement, and Saturday night was my wife's birthday, and I was at dinner. And then Sunday morning, I went to church in Meadowlands to welcome Reverend Pastor Dean Dlwati. I was there from 9 o'clock until church finished at 10 past 2. Was the longest service attended, church service attended. And after that, sat for the meal, then went home, had a nap. I had a fundraising dinner. One of the residents in our neighborhood called a few people to address. And Monday morning, I left for Cape Town, only got back last night. And last night was the first time to actually start really looking and studying this. I honestly feel the attack by the Palestinians was totally unjustified. The situation in that region is it's quite fluid. Really, we pray for the Palestinians and the Jews one day to find a solution. But you don't really find a solution to go and attack women, young children, and so forth. And so forth. As much as, yes, you've got history, that area, that region has had what, more than 2,000 years of difficulties. But we are not going to really solve that problem by honestly going to attack women and children honestly unprovoked. And I think as ActionSA, our personal feeling right now is that I think Hamas needs to really relook at their position, because they can only create their lives, because you can imagine now Israel is retaliating and they have the right to protect themselves. So I think we can only really pray for them to not really provoke. Let hope and pray every day of my life that we will have leaders like Nelson Mandela and F.W. de Klerk that can bring about a peaceful transition. Because I grew up in this country pre-1994. I never thought we'll ever get a peaceful transition. The manner in which, in the coercion, the National Party used to divide us along racial lines. And we were lucky F.W. de Klerk and Mandela were there, coming from two different worlds. And look at what happened to us. Unfortunately, that whole Rainbow Nation and prosperous South Africa is fast disappearing. But that's why parties like ActionSA is doing something as an intervention measure. And we hope that one day in that region, people will see peace. But what happened on Saturday, unfortunately, it can only make matters worse for more especially for the Palestinian the people, because Israel has got a right to defend themselves.